tell me about what made you come across the mindset of being an entrepreneur.
I was a CPA at first. First of all, I started off as an art major in college, and then...
What would a franchise model look like for you, and what's the profile? What would you look for in somebody, and what should they look for you to provide to them?
So we make every franchisee that wants to be in, right? They need to take a personality test. That's the first one.
And you starting to doing 4 deals in that 6 months, doesn't know yet. And I would like you to talk about how long did it take, what your process was trying to get those deals in, and how much of a struggle it was, and how you kept moving forward during that.
When I first started, I started actually taking action January 24th, 2022. And I got my first deal done.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Ground Up Podcast. We have a great guest today. Someone I've known for a little while now in a community that we're a part of called Astro Flipping. His name is John Galan. John Galan is the owner of Easy Res. He also is currently doing over 100K a month in deals and wholesaling. If you're looking to be a wholesaler, this is somebody you want to learn from. He also is looking to run an event in January called Level Up Summit. So you guys are looking to level up your life in business and wholesaling, please take a look at that event. We're going to send you John's Instagram as well and put that within the chat down below within the description. So you guys can go and check him out and go into follow him on that Instagram. John, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. How you guys doing? The Mats.
Fantastic.
Doing good, man. Good to see you. So tell me a little bit how business is going, man.
Yeah, business is good. As you said, we're doing over 100. We average around 120,000 a month for gross revenue on our wholesale business in Florida. And we currently have about 15 people on the team, looking to get that fully delegated to where me and my business partner Helena don't have to do any of the day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
And so we can move into the next market and then eventually get into maybe 3 to 5 different markets for the corporate locations, then franchise it out.
So how far away are you from you guys being able to step away a little bit?
I would say we have to delegate out the dispo side first, and then after that, get our direct seller side up and running, and we should be basically good to go. We just need an Alps guy, and we're done.
Awesome. So for those of you who don't know this, so there's acquisition and disposition side of wholesale. Acquisition is somebody who's looking to acquire the properties and get them under contract, and the disposition side is someone who's selling those contracts over to buyers. So you guys are looking to get somebody to take over the dispo side. So with that, you have a lot of relationships with buyers. Like Helena has a lot of relationships with these buyers. How are you going about taking those relationships that she has and transferring to somebody else? Is there a process you guys put in place for that?
Yeah, so we're not necessarily she's maintaining the VIP relationships because she's got a great relationship with them and they like to talk to her. Yeah. But it's more so like everybody else, it's kind of like you get a deal, we give somebody a deal to work, they start calling all the people in that area. So some of them might be on Helena's list, and Helena might just say, hey, call them. I don't really have a great relationship with them. They don't really know me. I don't really know them. So by all means, she would rather delegate off people on her list to the team members so that she doesn't have to talk to everybody and can start working on better on the business type of stuff, like strategic partnerships. We are taking down a land in St. Pete we bought last month, and we're taking down another property in St. Pete this month that we're partnering with a developer that was on our buyers list, and we're partnering with and doing new construction on both of them.
Okay, so now you're leveling up now. So you've gone from building up this wholesaling business and now to start acquiring properties, building complexes, things like that.
Correct.
So let's go back a little bit here where you started as an entrepreneur. I know we're going to kind of go through the journey of John when John was young to John to entrepreneur, but in general, so tell me about what made you come across the mindset of being an entrepreneur.
It wasn't intentional. I was a CPA at first. First of all, I started off as an art major in college, and then slowly, not really slowly, but 2.5 semesters later, I realized I'm not going to make any money with this, and I don't really like being graded on my opinion or somebody else's opinion. Yep. So I decided to switch my major, and then I got into accounting mostly because I was I like numbers, and it started with the letter A, and I was going down the list of different majors, and I was lazy. I wanted to go out and go drink with my friends, so I just selected accounting because it was the first thing. I didn't even make it to B. And then my first teacher, the first class I took, you have those teachers in your life where they actually teach, you know what I mean? And it's somebody that I wanted to do really well in the class. I wanted to, basically be the best student he's ever had. So I liked accounting as that. So, fast forward, I graduated. I didn't have any internships because I was an art major at first, so I never interned during the summer, and I also didn't care to intern because I was kind of lazy, and I just wanted to chill out over the summer. So once I graduated, I started just studying for the CPA exam straight out of graduation, passed that, and then once I passed the exam, I still didn't have a job, so I was working at a recruiting firm, and the whole goal was once the tax season was over, they were going to get me a job for one of their clients. So that happened. Then fast forward, I was in CPA, public accounting for 4 years. I started my own tax business kind of on the side just to make more money for the last 2 years I was in public accounting. And then that last year, it was in December, and I was on a ferry and I was listening to a podcast because after doing, people's taxes, I started seeing where most people were keeping their money and making their money, and it was real estate. So I was like, let me get into that. But I was more so like consuming content and not really taking action. And I was also lazy, and I wasn't really doing anything. I wasn't really consuming that much content. I was kind of like maybe an hour a week, And there was one day I'm sitting on my couch and I was about to boot up my Nintendo Switch, and then I saw how many hours I had logged in on the game, and it was like 100-something hours, and I divided that by 24, and I realized I basically spent a full week of my life if I played the game for 24 hours, 7 days a week without stopping. I basically spent a full week of my life playing video games. And I was like, what am I doing with myself? Like, this is not doing anything for me. So I stopped playing, and I was like, I'm changing something. I listened to a podcast one day, maybe a week later, on the way home from the ferry ride from the city to Staten Island after work. And I almost turned it off because I was like, let me just listen to music. And I listened to the podcast. And then that podcast led me down to a free Facebook group, and that free Facebook group posted about a challenge that Jamil was doing called the Secret Agent Challenge. And I was like, let me just listen. I'm going to take action. Let me do this challenge, whatever it is, right? Get on the challenge, listen in. I enter a competition to get into and meet Jamil and Ryan and Pace and all those people. And I didn't realize it was a sales pitch for astro flipping. And, I get on the phone call thinking, here I am winning a sweep, entering into a sweepstakes. And they told me yeah, you'd be perfect. Okay, so now how do you want to pay? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, I didn't say I was joining anything. And then I remember this moment so strongly because it was definitely a defining moment. I just remember thinking how the hell did I get here? And not even lying. And I'll never forget that exact moment as if it was yesterday. I'm just sitting at my desk and I'm like, it's a lot of money. Do I want to do this? How did I get here? And I thought back of everything that led me up to this spot. And I felt such a strong gut feeling do it. You know what I'm saying? Do it. Doesn't matter how much. I'm telling you right now, there's moments in life where there's an opportunity. It's either, you're going to seize the opportunity and your life's going to change, or you're going to pass on it and you're going to live in regret. So I was like, let me just do this. So I was like, screw it. You guys take payment plans.
Wow. Let me ask you this question, John. I'm not joined astro flipping. I know Matt has and you have. So you guys have both crossed that threshold. If you look back in retrospect and say, if I didn't pay that at that time, would you have ever taken this seriously? Or that was the thing that you needed to take it seriously?
It was a thing I needed for sure. I was for 3 years, I'm going to do something real estate, and I didn't do anything. And I've always felt that guilt. So if I was just doing nothing and watching TV, I would feel guilt. If I used to smoke weed, when I was younger, and when I smoked weed, I would always have anxiety, and I would be fearful of the future because I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, right? So that was a moment that it basically was listen, you have to take action now. You have money involved, you have to start doing it. And so a month after I joined, and I watched all the videos, and then I started taking action in January. And I was balancing that with my CPA business and my CPA W-2, which during busy season, for the W-2 alone, I had to work 9 to 9, 6 days a week.
Yeah, so you talked a lot about how, before you describe yourself as lazy, and no one would call you lazy now.
Right.
No one would ever call you lazy now. And I think what you talked about, when you said you were consuming content, you watch a video at YouTube. And when you are lazy, you're like, all right, man, I've done a lot today. Look, hashtag entrepreneur life. You're
yep.
Watch my one YouTube video, I'm good to go. How did you get from? Obviously, you put the money in, but then, and I get that feeling because I've had it my entire life too as well. I just feel like I'm not doing enough. There's something that I'm missing, and I'm not doing it. You have that anxiety, like you said, it just presses at you every single time, every single day. You just don't get what you need to get done. You're like, you're lazy, you're a piece of shit, or whatever you want to say about yourself. You say it over and over again, but you focus a lot on mindset now.
Yep.
So from that point, obviously, do you look back on your life a lot and think about that to focus, to drive yourself forward, or do you just focus on just the future in general?
No, it's a bit of both. I mean, you need reflection, because if I'm always just focusing on like where I plan to go, like I'll never be grateful for where I'm at. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always have that little bit of reflection. I'm just thinking back, like, wow, look how far I've come. Like I like to journal. I don't journal every day. I journal every weekday. Yep. Basically, I don't really journal on the weekends. But every now and then I'll go back. I'll pick open one of my journals and just read one of the passages every now and then, and I'll just be like, damn, those are my problems 2 years ago. Like I was still trying to get my first deal, or I was trying to make $20,000 and do my third deal, and now look where I'm at. And it just, reflection and reading those journals, it's more so I have like that, it's the reverse gap, so I have that sense of like gratitude for how far I've come, and I've noticed like, hey, I was dealing with that issue then, and I know I got over it, and look where I'm at now, like how far I've grown. So it's always a good to just kind of remember where you came from and how far you've gone, and then if you have a similar issue, like any issue I'm facing now, like I've already faced it kind of before. Yeah. Or in some sort of way. It might be maybe a more expensive issue now, or more people involved, but it's the same type of issue nonetheless. It's just adversity. So like I just know, like, hey, I've gone through all this stuff, like nothing's gonna stop. I always find the solution. It's just, instead of kind of dwelling on the problem, let me just figure out what am I gonna do to get out of this.
Let me ask you this, John. You mentioned before you got super busy, and I understand you're incredibly busy now, you had that guilt of sitting down playing video games or sitting on the couch. When you sit down on the couch now, when you sit down to relax, do you still have a little bit of that guilt, like there's more work I could do? Or did that go away because you're putting the work in? I asked that question because there's been times where I've been slower in my career, where I didn't have as much going on, and I definitely felt that. And I still probably struggle with sitting down at the end of the day and knowing I could probably get more work done, or I could probably tackle this extra thing, and trying to teach myself, hey, you did the work, trust the process, you've earned the right to sit down. But for you, did it subside a little bit? Is it still there in the back of your head, or is it gone because you're putting the work in?
Yeah, I mean, usually if I sit down to go relax on the couch, I probably wind up just passing out within 2 minutes. But no, seriously, like it depends, honestly. If now I like to see like what are the major things I have to do for the day, and if I do those major things, like there's always more work I could do, always, right? But if I've done the major things I wanted to do for the day, if I sit down, like I scheduled this time to relax and not do anything. Like if I'm sitting down and doing something on education, or if I'm doing something like, even if I'm just watching Netflix, it's time that, like, I knew I was going to do this anyway. So there's no reason to feel guilty about spending my time how I had already planned to spend it, And if I did my tasks early, if I woke up early and I got a lot done and I did the major things I needed to do for the business that day and it's done, I mean, I might as well like enjoy my life, right? And not feel guilty, because like some of the, like, I forgot what the exact 5 are, but some of the I forgot what the book was called. It was an article where somebody asked a couple people on their deathbed, like, what were their regrets, and like the top 5 regret was like not like living up to like my potential, basically not taking risks, not spending enough time with like family and friends, not like traveling more, and I think not allowing themselves to be happy or something like that. And I forgot what the last one was, but none of them say I wish I worked more. Or one was,
I wish I closed that one deal.
I worked too much. One of them said I work too much. One of the 5 is I work too much. So like if I know I'm doing what I got to do and I have everything else kind of like scheduled by doing like a weekly review and like a daily review, once I do what I got to do, like there's no reason to feel guilty for like being present with like my girlfriend, or just being present by myself, or just doing absolutely nothing for the moment and just thinking. So I don't feel guilty if I don't do everything. And I was like, and I knew I procrastinated that day, or let's just say I knew I let the notifications control the day, and I still have 2 more things on my list and I didn't get it done. Then I'll feel like, you know what? All right, what can I do? I won't feel guilty. I'll just be like, okay, what can I do differently? Why did that happen? How do I not make that happen again?
Yeah, I think it's important, and the reason I asked that question is because depending on what type of social media you digest and the volume of social media, there has been a very large shift, and I think we're actually shifting off of this in general social media, which is like the grind it out mentality, right? You've seen that for the past couple of years. Wake up at 4:30, work out for 4 hours, and then eat nothing but one time a day and work until you drop. I mean, I always give Matt Walton here a tough time because his favorite guy is Alex Hormozy, and that's kind of his whole strategy is like you wake up, work out, work until you fall asleep, and don't have any other thrills in your life. Now, both Matt and I are parents, we're husbands, and so that balancing act of building a business and being as successful as you want to be, and the challenge that I face and Matt faces and you face, while also making sure that the things that are really important are why are we working so hard? Why are we wanting to build what we're building? What does that give us the ability to do? The financial side of it, the freedom, the flexibility. That's one of the advantages that I don't hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about, is that if I want to, when my daughter is playing in a softball game in a couple of years and I want to be able to go to her softball game, I don't have to ask my boss for permission. I can just go. So I see a lot of shift in social media where it's not just work hard, but it's kind of to the point you made of think, strategize, plan, sit down, strategize. What are the big things you want to accomplish? What are the tier 2 things? Knock off all the big things, get as much of it you can, but have a little bit of discipline, not just in working all day, but have discipline in knowing that everything doesn't need to be work.
Yep.
So I love that. I love that you share that, that idea. Let me ask you this, John, just to shift gears a little bit. Middle school John, who was he?
I was basically a class clown. Definitely wasn't the easiest student to have in your class. What else was I? I mean, I was just basically a class clown. Didn't really take school serious. Didn't really. I mean, I always knew like I wanted to be something. Like maybe it was like an actor or like a football player, but I was like friggin' 5'4", like 100 pounds. Like there's no way I was gonna make it to the NFL, Yeah. But I always like had a deep gut feeling that I was gonna be something and make something of myself. I just didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? I've always had that feeling for however as long I can remember, remembering. I've always had that somewhat of a feeling, but. Other than that, I definitely didn't act on it. I wasn't like big on like education. I was big on video games. I did like sports, but I also didn't like really give anything my all. I wrestled for a little bit, didn't really like it, didn't care to try as hard as I could. I've never actually gave anything my 100%. I've always had, when I was a kid, everybody's like, he's got a lot of potential. I've always heard I got a lot of potential, but I've never lived up to it.
Yep. No, I resonate with that. Yeah, absolutely.
You'd be surprised, John, most people we talk to that are very successful entrepreneurs did not fit into the standard idea of what a middle school should provide, right? I would guess, John, without knowing you more than this 15 minutes we've talked so far, is that I would guess that once you find the thing that you really love, you have no problem running full steam ahead. Like you mentioned the volume of video games you played. Once you found something you loved, you did it. And I think you probably found that in real estate. But when it was everything else that didn't matter to you, it's just like, I don't care. And so it's about finding the thing you loved, right?
Yeah, and funny you mentioned that because even in high school, like, and with college with the accounting, right? In high school, I had an Italian teacher, and I actually genuinely enjoyed it. And most teachers in high school didn't like me because I was still a class clown. I was getting a bunch of detentions. I also wasn't showing up to detention, so I was almost getting suspended for just not showing up to detention, right? But there was my one Italian teacher. I actually liked it, and I would basically get almost 100 on every single one of his tests, and he would just go to the teachers, just like, listen, like if you just let John do his thing, like he's gonna be fine. I'm telling you, don't stop trying to like, force him to be something and make learning fun. And he made it fun, like, and I enjoyed it. And so like when I enjoyed it, I actually applied myself. I wanted to learn. I wanted to get into it. I was able to speak, to write, and to read in Italian after the second year. Ever since the Regents exam, I don't know why. One of my regrets is not continuing with the learning of Italian because I kind of lost it. But by then, I was all in. And then with accounting, I was the only person in my teacher's 30 years of teaching that never got below a 95 on any one of his tests. And most people usually fail that class the first time around. And I was the only person to get 100 on his final and over a 95 on every single test.
Yeah, there are those teachers like that as you go through school that just you connect with, and that connect with you, and that you just give it all because you just know that this person is here to help me out.
Yeah, and you want to. And also one of it was a kid in I remember one of the bigger reasons also why, which I kind of shed off now, is like, well, I remember telling somebody, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do what he goes. No, listen, dude, like, because again, I was never the smartest. I was always like the class clown. I never applied myself. So he's like, listen, like, there's no way you are gonna get an A in this class. I'm like, all right, that's it, I'm done. And like, so I was like, I'm doing it more out of spite. So I would spend, I'd read the whole textbook probably like 6 times that semester, right? And every time before a test, I would break out, and this is where I think even the systems to now come into play. Like, that's where I learned a lot. If I knew my test was Monday, right, I would spend all of Friday on one, and it's usually on three chapters a test, right? Friday, I would spend all on one chapter. I'd only worry about that one chapter. I wouldn't care about anything else. I would read the whole textbook. I would redo all of the questions. I would test myself on that chapter. Then on Saturday, I would do the next chapter, and then on Sunday, I would do the 3rd chapter, and then at the end, I would do a recap of all 3 chapters, and then I would teach people that were also in my class that needed help with that. And then on Monday would come, I would take the test, and I would be completely fine.
Wow, yeah. For me, studying was never a thing. Studying was never a thing because I never.
It was the only class I studied for, and I even had one teacher that shared office hours with that one teacher, and she goes, she's like, why don't you like my class? I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you never show up, but you're always here for him. And I'm like, I really don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
Would I be interested to know next is, you guys talked a little bit about the success your current business is in, and then the scaling of where it's going. I've talked to Matt a little bit, as you know, we've got a virtual assistant business, and we've talked about the scaling idea, and he has shared with me some of the things that he knows about how you scale and how you develop and identify people. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you identify the teammates within your team and the idea around developing of the team as you grow?
Yeah, so, at first it was more so, we tried a couple different things, just straight up hiring people off Indeed and reading resumes and then interviewing people and bringing them onto themes of how they react in the beginning. Then we tried hiring like a recruiter to do it for us, and they use a personality index, and then they would, based off the personality test and their first interview, they would pass along candidates to us, but it was like basically almost $3,000 a candidate, so it was pretty expensive. And then we were just like, dude, screw this, let's just like learn it ourselves. So we wound up hiring on a personality test, which is called Culture Index, and we went to Arizona for a 2-day in-person workshop. So we're learning how to read the test ourselves and put notes. So now if we get 300 applicants, we maybe only interview 20 of them because the other ones don't pass the test with the personality test, meaning like they won't be the right person for the seat right now. They might be good for a different seat. Like I could tell by reading a test, that person's an introvert. They do not want to get on the phone. They'd rather text. They're going to be slow and they only like doing routine tasks. They're also going to see more black and white, so they won't be creative when it comes to the offers, and it's only going to be yes or no, and they could also maybe not take action because they need to know all the information first. I can read that based on a personality test. So now we see that, we spend the time reading the test, decide interview or pass, and that's how we start building a team. And we can know based on the personality which role they'd be best in. And that's how we're now doing more systematic and strategic approach of hiring people and putting them in the right seat.
Do you guys have somebody else doing that for you? Do you look at every single one of those that come through?
I look at every single test.
Wow.
We have somebody do us a first round interviews, but me and Helena basically look at every single test. Every morning I just refresh it. Anything that's new. Again, you need a system, right? That's one thing I learned too. Like, you need a system for everything. So I figured out a way to make sure I don't get confused at which tests I've seen already, right? And then I just could go into the position we're hiring for, click a button, see which ones I didn't leave notes on yet, and then those are the new tests I know I got to get through, leave the notes that I need to leave, let my guy know, hey, interview or pass, and then that's it.
So it's a general feel thing though for you, right? I mean, like, it's not a black or white. That's why you want to do it internally yourself or Helena and not outsource this to another person, right?
I want to do this internally ourselves so we could come up with a process on how to do it correctly, and then we bring on somebody internally to get the training and everything, and then they do that themselves. Because then it's their salary that I'm paying, right? And they're constantly headhunting for us, and they're only working for us. Yeah. So some of these places, whoever's paying them the most, they're going to send the best clients to.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
well,
guys,
it's not that.
and you talked about making this into a franchise and bringing out there into a bunch of different places. And so in order to do that, you have to take down that yourself and then have a process in place on how to do it and teach other people how to do that also at the same time.
Yep. You need a process for everything.
Yeah, we've done the same thing. We hire at a much larger scale than you right now. We have about 100 applicants that apply to our company every day. We have about 20 to 25 interviews that go through the first level of filtration. So at the beginning, though, Matt and I did all the recruiting. We looked at every single applicant. We did all of the interviews. And at the scale in which we did it, we ended up having to create a process, bring in a team of people who work for us. We've got a whole recruiting team. We've got a whole training team. We've got a whole managerial and coaching team. But at every step of the way, in order for you to have people to know how to teach them to do those jobs the right way, you got to do them yourself. I don't want to interview all day. I don't want to look at applications and candidates all day. I don't want to train people all day. I feel like my time and my value is spent in higher level places, but you have to go through those growing pains in order to find the right person to then sit in the seat for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Believe me, I don't like interviewing people, but right now you just got to do what you got to do, because I can't write a process or know if somebody's doing anything correctly if I haven't done it myself first.
Awesome. So let's in the spirit of having people do things for you and coming up with systems and processes. From what you did when you started off, you partnered up with a couple people throughout your career as wholesalers, and you decided to partner up because I want to ask you why you partnered up with them in order to build this instead of doing it yourself, in order to what you were looking for and what you needed help with, in order to make that decision on who you should partner up with. So tell me that thought process you went through with that.
Yeah, I didn't plan on partnering with people. Again, nothing was planned, basically. Okay. You know what I mean? Like the vision and what I wanted to do, that's something that I have, but how I'm getting there, that wasn't part of my process. It's not up to me to figure out the how. Yeah. I just figure out what it is, and then the how figures out itself, right? Yep. As long as I keep that vision strong. But again, I was planning on doing this all by myself, building a team by myself, doing it all myself. I knew what my weaknesses are. I know what my weaknesses are. I'm not blind to that because I take time to be aware of what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at. Mm-hmm. And then basically my first partner came to me after I did a challenge for Jamil, and they were like, wow, you're really good on the phones, and I'm really good at Dispo, and I'm good at systems, and you're good at connecting with people, so I think we'd be great as partners. And again, I never worked with this person before. I had a gut feeling like, hey, do it, right? And looking back, the gut feeling wasn't because of our partnership that was going to be well. It was because that gut feeling from that partnership was going to bring me to my now partner, Helena, right? So we worked together for about a year. It was great. I went from I had only done 4 deals, and then I partnered up with him, and I started building a team already. When I didn't even really understand the whole thing by myself, I was in for 6 months, and then I started building a team, and I'd only done 4 or 5 deals, right? So then we built a team. We had the growing pains with the first 2 months. We did 12 deals at the end of December, right? And then over that course, we probably did 100 deals in that year, and then I wound up, me and Helena were working a lot together. I was working with her a lot more than my partner at the time, because we were just working deals and we're both really fast, and we really liked the way that we worked well. So that was for 6 months we were doing deals together, and then we were like, hey, I had again another gut feeling like, hey, I think we got a partner. Most of the major decisions in my life I make are based on my gut, not really logic, to be honest with you, because logic is one part of the brain, gut is a completely different part. So we partnered up. Me and my other partner broke it off mutually. We're still good friends. Every time I see him, we're fine. We broke it off mutually, and we kind of cut down the team in half. We only took 4 people or so, and that was in October of last year. And then me and Helena went on building it. We got more people than we had last time, doing more deals than we did the last time. And now we're in, we've got some multifamily. We're doing new construction, and we're working on scaling this even more.
So we're talking about all your successes now and how many deals you're doing now. And you said that it's within 6 months, I guess, when you're starting to doing 4 deals in that 6 months. I know the story about what you went through on the anniversary of that, but Matt doesn't know yet. And I would like you to talk about how long did it take, what your process was trying to get those deals in, and how much of a struggle it was, and how you kept moving forward during that.
Yeah, so when I first started, I started actually taking action January 24th, 2022. And I got my first deal done on April 15th. And during that time period, I was juggling my W-2 job, which was basically 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I had my side tax business, which mostly didn't really start happening big time until the last 2 weeks of busy season, but I still had prep work and all that stuff I had to do in the meantime. And then I was also trying to wholesale. So I was like, I got to figure out how I got to put in 4 hours at least a day on wholesaling. So I would wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I didn't have a morning routine at this time. I was just working from 4 or 5 in the morning till 9 on my W-2, then from 9 to 12 on real estate, then basically from 12 until 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on a mix of both, making sure I got done what I needed to get done. And that was 7 days a week. And then after I got my first deal done, it wasn't planned. Like, it wasn't like I did it. I could like, once I got it done, I was like, I do not know how to do this again, because I just reached out to an Astra student. She had a deal. I reached out to other people, and they wound up having a buyer. Long story short, like, it got done after a couple of things blew up, but it still got done. And then after that, I was lost. I was like, I have no idea how to do this again, because it wasn't my market. I've been doing a bunch of different things. So even after that, I was like, all right, what am I doing? Let me try direct to seller now. Let me also try micro flip. Let me try doing all different markets. So after that first deal, I had already decided I was going to quit my W-2 job. I was like, I'm done with work. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done with accounting. So I had quit. I gave my boss a 2-month notice just because I worked directly with one of the partners, and I did a lot for them. So, and they did a lot for me. So I just wanted to not leave them high and dry. So I gave them the 2-month notice. And during those 2 months, I was not even close to a deal. I had no leads, no nothing. I was just kind of doing everything. And then June 23rd came, and, I went to the mastermind. I talked to Jamil. I was like, I'm lost, but this is what I think I need to do. I have an idea. This is what I think I need to do. I'm just going to call agents in Florida, and that's it. And he goes, yep, do it. Stream your calls so people could listen in and do that. And then literally after that, the day after I was full-time into this, 2 weeks later, I got a deal done, and then I got another one, and then I got another one. But those were micro flips. My first 15 contracts that I had personally gotten on the contract in a row, I had to cancel all 15 of them. And I remember one Friday I had to cancel, it was like 4 o'clock on a Friday, I had to cancel 3 back to back to back. I was like, hey, and they can't make it work. Okay, hey, can't make it work. And I was like, Jesus, this sucks, dude. But I just kept moving forward. I knew it was part of the process. There was never 1 second that I was like, this isn't for me anymore. It was just like, all right, what do I got to learn? It's frustrating, but I'm really good at canceling contracts, so I'm not worried about talking to anybody because I know how to get out of it. And then I did the challenge, got another deal done, and then I partnered and I started building the team, and we were dry again for another like 2 or 3 months. I mean, I was on the verge of emptying out my 401k 3 times during this process, and just so I could like survive, because I ran through my savings from not having any, 1, not really saving that much, and then 2, just not having any money come in. And then when I did, I spent it stupidly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great mindset to have, though. You said there's like, you cancel 15 contracts in a row instead of saying, man, I suck at getting contracts and getting this done. You said, I got really good at canceling contracts.
I was the best. I was the best at canceling contracts. I knew how to do it. And then I also thought, I was like, I could sell other people's deals. Why can't I sell my own deal? Like, I sell other people's deals. I know the numbers. Why am I canceling my own deals? And then I remember there was one time one of my acts got a deal on the contract, and I remember this specifically because I messed up the underwriting, and I was like, crap, we're gonna have to cancel. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't even send the deal out, and I'm already thinking about canceling. That's why I can't sell my deals, because I subconsciously already believe that my contracts I can't sell, so there's always going to be a reason to cancel. As soon as I switched that, even though I messed up the underwriting, we sold at a full asking price 2 days later.
It's interesting to hear you talk about this, because when Matt and I first connected a little over a year ago, I worked with him, and he was showing me what it is to be a wholesaler, and Matt made it look so easy. John, I'm not joking when I say we got a deal under contract in day 2 of me and him making calls together. And it was just pure luck. It was no skill, no talent. But, man, it just I was telling everybody, I just turned this deal in this time. Like, it's that quick, this easy, that easy. But now we deal so often, I would say 30 to 40% of our clients with our VA business are brand new guys. A good percentage of them never closed a deal before. And so we're spending a lot of time showing them how to be a wholesaler, or showing what it takes, that mindset that it takes. So it's so interesting to hear you talk about the mindset you had, the slight shift, and those small decisions you make and where you're putting your focus towards that helps you ultimately just get a different result. Now you mentioned something earlier, and I wanted to double click on this because I think it's a very interesting perspective and something I've never thought about. You said you make decisions with gut, not logic. I'm going to ask, instead of you asking John, Matt, do you think you make decisions, Matt, with gut or logic, or have you ever even considered that differentiator? And then once you answer it for you, what do you think it is for me? Because as he said that, I would have always said that I'm very logical with my decisions, but now as you say that, John, I think I'm much more gut. But Matt, what do you think?
And it's major decisions I make with my gut. Any like everyday decisions or negotiation decisions, more so is logic, but major decisions are usually gut.
Yeah, gut 100%. Yeah, and I'm the type of person that says let's do it, and then I'll figure it out as it comes. And a lot of times that could have been the wrong decision, but like you said, I learned from it. Like you said, you canceled 15 contracts. I got good at canceling. Like you learned through that process. It might have been the wrong decision, but you felt some way you had to learn something through it. And your gut was telling you to move forward with it. So gut 100%. Matt, I think you do the same thing. You obviously have a lot of logic behind it, but you quickly said you feel it as soon as you hear a situation that comes up. You automatically are like, let's do this, because you felt that was the right way to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good perspective, John. It's just, as you said, it's like, oh, that makes total sense. I've just never considered it. I think I'm very instinctual with how I do things. I hear it, I'm very decisive, but I never considered it that it's more gut instincts than it is like, just deciphering the information and being logical with it. So
yeah, and the gut is your intuition. It's like, that second brain. So like the more attached, or not really attached, but the more aligned you are with your purpose and your mission and like your goal, right, then the more intuitive feelings you're going to have pulling you towards it. So even if on paper it looks like it was the wrong decision you made, it actually wasn't, because it was a decision that was necessary to be made in order to keep you on that path. Like the path isn't going to be just a smooth path towards your goal, right? You're going to hit bumps and bruises, rocky roads, things you got to climb in and out of. So like sometimes the gut decision, might not be what I wanted, but it was what was supposed to happen. So that gut is just kind of, like God talking to you, like, yes, do that. And that's why it's only major decisions that I make these on, because those are pivotal moments where it's like, if I did something different, I would be on a completely different path right now. But if I listen to my gut now, it might not happen the way I want it, but it happened the way it was supposed to, continuing me on the path towards that end goal that I have. The more disaligned and away from your goal you are, the less kind of gut feelings you have, and the more so you're going to be reasoning everything out.
The last question I wanted to have for you is, I heard Matt say something about you wanted to do some sort of a franchise thing, right?
Yep.
And as we deal with a lot of these new guys that are coming in, but most of them haven't done the financial step of jumping into what you guys did with Astro flipping. What would a franchise model look like for you? And if we've got somebody that's coming in to this world, maybe you're not there yet, right? But maybe as you build it, what would a new person that ultimately wanted to work with you as a franchisee of one of your things, what would that look like? What's the profile? What would you look for in somebody, and what should they look for you to provide to them?
Yeah, so I mean, we're still kind of flirting with what we're gonna bring. What I'm looking for in somebody is, I'm going to have everybody take a personality test, right? There's only certain profiles that are going to be able to be business owners, because some people just don't have what it takes to be a business owner. They either can't disseminate information to the team, they don't know how to give feedback, they don't know how to lead people. There are leaders, and there are people that need to be led. There are people that do projects, and there are people that do tasks. There are people that could be assertive in conflict, there are people that try to avoid it. So we make every franchisee that wants to be in, right, they need to take a personality test. That's the first one. The second one is, I want to see why they want to be a franchisee, why they want to do this, what's their reason for this. Like, if it's just money motivated and they just want to, they think I can make a bunch of money in wholesaling, I don't really care who I impact, then I don't really want them, because I'm not trying to, they need to be aligned with our vision and our core values as well. So if they're not, I don't care how good they are, they're not going to be a franchisee. But the biggest step is the test will take away most of the people anyway. But as far as what we provide, I mean, there's a reason why we're not moving into another market until we fully delegate out Florida, to where I could go away for a vacation, Helena could go away for a vacation, and the business still does the same amount of money, even more, and volume than if we were in here. Because now I have the whole system in place. Then I recreate it using the system to be in Florida to another market, fix it up, perfect it, do it to another market. And by the third, fourth, fifth market, not really should be minor changes to where now, hey, I know this works in all markets, every different type of market. Whether it's a high volume state with low fees or a high fee state with a low volume, it's going to work regardless. So now here's the blueprint on how to do this, the systems, the training, everything. So you're going to get provided with that. And then on top of that, once we scale this out, we're also going to build, we're getting into new development, multifamily. We're also going to start a private equity fund where we're buying businesses and buying multifamily. And the businesses we're buying are going to be ancillary services. So we'll have like a recruiting business that we're going to buy. We're going to have, businesses that are going to be like electrical, construction, all that good stuff. Anything that's ancillary, bookkeeping, VA services, right? Or maybe we just work with you guys so anything a franchise needs that we know that they would need, they could just get from the franchise. And they could either just pay an extra franchise fee or something, and they just have all the stuff they need in just one spot.
Awesome. And I don't know if you've thought about this yet. It just hit me like if you guys have contemplated this. Obviously, we love Jamil, and Jamil has Keegley, which is franchises that you can purchase in there. Have you guys thought about like when you come into this as franchisees, what separates you from Keegley? If somebody had Keegley in front of them and Easy Res, what would make them go towards Easy Res versus Keegley, if you know?
I think it's going to be dependent on the person, because whether they go with Easy Res or they go with Keegley, they're going to have to be a fit for both of us. It's not just them, we're a fit for them. They have to be a fit for us as well. So, so I would say it would depend on each person.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you offer a great service and you obviously can show you can do it and you know how to be successful in it. So if somebody just has to follow your plan, you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if like Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King, it's all the same stuff. It's all fast food franchises, right? But why do you choose one over the other? It's just a matter of preference.
Yep.
Yeah. We choose Whataburger because we're in Texas. That's why we choose it. Yeah.
Exactly. So it depends whatever they're looking for, right? So, but yeah.
All right, great. So real quick before we wrap up on this call right here, tell me you got Level Up Summit coming up.
Yes, that's I think it's February 28th to March 1st, I believe. I'll give you the link so you can put it in the description, but it's basically going to be a 2-day event in Orlando, Florida at the Gaylord Palms Resort. And we're going to have people like Jamil Damji, Chris Crone, Vina Jetty, Nick Perry, a couple other people that are speaking. I'll be speaking as well. And it's just going to be for basically anybody trying to level up their business or in real estate. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think if you got like VIP tickets, on the first Friday night, we have box seats for the Orlando Magic game. And I think some of the speakers like Chris and Jamil are going to be chilling in the box with us. And then you also have access to like the houses that we're all staying at. So anybody wants to come network, feel free.
Awesome. And how do people get a hold of you? I know you have Instagram. We'll link your Instagram handle up here as well. And you put a ton of content, a ton of helpful content on your Instagram as well. So anybody who's looking to learn from John, join his Instagram. You also have a Facebook group, right?
Correct. Wholesaler Resource Network. I go live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. EST just to answer any questions.
Awesome. Great. Okay, we're going to shift over into this next segment that we do, which is kind of it's 15 questions-ish, where we kind of ask you questions in order to build some content off of for you to give some quick replies back to, so you can build some clips off of and put it out on your Instagram and social media, and to obviously to help people out. So we're gonna switch over to this phase next. Cool.
Let's do it.
Cool. I'll get started first. All right, John. So you mentioned that you at the beginning of the podcast you had mentioned that there was a period where you were consuming a lot of content. Now you create a lot of content. Who's your favorite content creator that you're consuming? One inside of the wholesale industry, outside of yourself, and one not in the wholesale industry.
Inside the wholesale industry, I would probably say that's tough because there's like three. I mean, I watch so many of them.
Maybe give me one under the radar.
Cody Barton.
Perfect. How about outside of the industry?
Wayne Dyer.
Never heard of either of those names. That's a good start. Absolutely. Matt, what you got?
Awesome. All right, so you talked again about being lazy and breaking those habits, because even though you paid $10,000 for the course, you still have habits you got to break. So give me 3 tips you have for somebody who might be lazy and is looking to break out and to actually become an entrepreneur and be successful.
Yeah, I don't think you're necessarily lazy. I just think you're overwhelmed. So what I highly recommend is what started helping me out is planning my weeks and planning my days by just sitting down for at least an hour and going through all the stuff. I brain dump. I have a to-do list, and if I don't want to organize it yet, I'll just put it all on paper, so I brain dump, so it's out of my head, so I don't think about it. And then maybe at night or first thing in the morning, I'll organize it based on the categories I have, and then figure out, all right, what is important? What do I got to do this week? What can I do later? What is not important? What can I do in the weekends? What can I do on Saturday, Sunday, right? So I started doing that, and then using my calendar and then planning out each day, like, all right, I'm going to do this time, do this, do that, but still leave that kind of buffer room. So just in case if you don't want to stack it too much where if you miss one thing, everything falls down and you start getting overwhelmed with your calendar and you start procrastinating that way, right? So I would say scheduling time to do things and figuring out what it is you're thinking about. And if you're ever procrastinating something, ask yourself, like, what am I procrastinating and why? And you could see, like, it might be something that you have to do that you're maybe not used to doing, sure of, so you don't know enough, but sometimes it's good to figure out what am I procrastinating about. And then if you're lazy, like to go to the gym or whatnot, like, set your goal. Like, instead of thinking about the whole process, it sucks, right? Think about the end goal. Like, hey, I want to get healthy. This is me getting healthy. That feeling I feel after the gym, I feel really good. Let me go change my clothes really quick. Let me put on some video. Let me stand up from the couch, because if I'm sitting down, I'm not doing anything. Let me stand up, move around, just walk outside, do something. But make the decision. Once you make the decision, it's very easy to continue to go.
You mentioned earlier that you like to journal, and maybe you could be better at it, but you like to journal. When you do journal and you're really solid at it, what do you gain out of that?
So I start off by, I'll write down the date, and then I'll do 5 things I'm grateful for, and then I'll put what time I woke up and what time I went to bed, because I also like to see, like, my sleep schedule as well. And I'll even write, like, hey, I didn't really sleep that well tonight. I was tossing and turning. I felt this is this. I kind of dreamed about this. What did I? And then I'll just kind of I don't even plan what I'm gonna write out. I just write out whatever. Like, so today I'm gonna be doing this and that. Yesterday I did this and that. I've been feeling like recently, the past few months, I feel like I haven't really been as productive as I could. Maybe I should start using my weekends, because I know on Saturday I want to enjoy it. But if I wake up at 7 and I spend from 7 to 10 doing certain tasks, and then on Sunday I do the same thing, I'll be able to enjoy the rest of the weekend more, because there's more I can do. So I'll just kind of just think out loud when I journal. And then usually on Monday I just recap what I did for the weekend, anything major or anything that I want to remember, like, I'll put it down there. Any problems that I have, hey, I've also noticed I've had this problem for the past 3 months, let's do something about it today.
Awesome. What are 3 things you recommend a new wholesaler do when getting started?
Easy. Set your intention. What are you even doing this for? Like, do you plan on building a big wholesale business? Do you plan on building a small one? Do you plan on being in multiple markets, one market? What do you plan on just using the capital to invest into fix and flips, because that's a real thing you want to do, or invest into multifamily? Like, what are you using wholesaling for? Figure out your intention, so you could figure out what the destination is for your wholesale business, and you could plan accordingly. Then pick your market. The intention is going to help you pick your market. If you want to fix and flip in DFW, you're not going to start wholesaling in Florida. Or you're going to start wholesaling in DFW. So pick your market next after you get your intention done, and focus in just that one market. Start in like just one county maybe, and then expand out. Don't do the whole state. And then after you get your intention in your market, pick your outreach method. Am I going to go direct to seller? If I'm doing direct to seller, am I going cold calling, direct mail, or am I doing PPC, PPL? Am I going to go direct to agent? Am I calling listings, or am I just cold calling agents? Or am I going to be a JV guy and I'm just going to get buyers? Like, what do I want to do? That's all going to tie back to your intention as well. So set your intention, pick your market, pick your method.
What areas of your business right now today, John, do you feel like you maybe need to improve on the most, or you struggle with the most on a day-to-day basis?
I would say delegating at our dispo side, building our direct-to-seller team. We just started it like 3 or 4 months ago, so getting more intentional and building that part out, and getting more direct contracts from our agent side.
Awesome. So, advice you would give to a wholesaler that's doing 1 deal, 2 deals, maybe 3 deals a month, that wants to get to the level of John Galan, that's doing 10 plus deals a month, 100 grand a month. What do you think are a few key things that wholesaler needs to do in order to get to that level?
Yeah, stop being greedy. Most people that stay around the 1 to 3 try to do both the ac and dispo side themselves the whole time. Like, leverage other people first. Like, get your acquisition pipeline dialed in to where deals are constantly coming in and other people sell them for you. Start delegating that side. Free up your time. Use that free time to start selling your own deals. So, 1, use other people. The other thing I would say is pay attention to your mindset. Like, do you even believe that you could do 10 deals a month? Because if you can't, you're going to be stuck where you believe, right? Like, do you think it's possible to do 10 deals a month? Do you find yourself constantly complaining that you're not, constantly complaining that you don't have enough or this, that? Like, find out what's constantly on your mind, and that's also probably why you're doing what you're doing. So I would say those are the top two things. Use other people, who, not how, right? There's a reason why there's a book on it. And then two, like, what is your thought process? Like, are you complaining about where you're at, or are you grateful, and do you believe you could do more?
Awesome.
What are your 1 year, 5 year, and 20 year goals?
1 year, I want to have Florida, and this is business.
You answered however you want.
Okay. 1 year, I want to have Florida fully delegated out, doing $300,000 to $400,000 a month without me involved in any of the day-to-day. I don't want to know about any of the deals happening. And I want to have the second market doing the exact same thing. So 2 markets fully delegated out, have another 100 units under our belt, so I'm not paying any taxes for next year. And I would like to also have myself a place in Tampa in 1 year. In 5 years, we have all 5 locations fully delegated out, and we have 10 franchisees, each making $1 million a year gross. We have already a development company going in Florida and in New Jersey, and by that point we have around 2,000 doors under our belt. And we started to work on our private equity fund, where we're buying businesses and multifamily. And then you said 20 years after this? 20 years from now, actually, let me pull out my book. 20 years from now, I'm taking home $1 million per month from my wholesale franchise. I own over $5 billion worth of assets. I've never paid taxes in the last 20 years. I am taking home $1 million per day from all of my companies and more. And I have a not-for-profit school where I've created 100,000 millionaires from impoverished areas, and I have successfully, like I said, created 100,000 millionaires from that school, and started to eliminate the poverty mindset in those poverty areas.
Got you. He pulled out a book that he wrote that down in.
Yeah.
I think that's important to see, because I think people think about it sometimes, but you wrote down your intentions of what you need to do.
Yep.
I think that means something. Awesome. Describe your leadership style in 3 words.
Transformational, intentional, and always improving.
Awesome.
All right, so I'm going to ask the last question I always ask, but Matt, do you have any other questions before I ask the last question?
No.
John, what do you want your legacy to be when all's said and done? When you're at that bed that you mentioned, and they ask you what you didn't want to do, what you did want to do, what do you want your legacy to be?
I've never got asked that question before. That's a good one. I want to look back and just know that every single person that I've ever had contact with, I've impacted in some way or another for the better, and I've helped them realize that they could do whatever they want in this world as long as they have the belief and that they know that they have the capabilities. And I want the world overall to be vibrating at a higher frequency as a result of me spreading my message throughout the world.
Awesome.
It's not about the money. It's not about what I'm building. I'm building it for a reason, so I don't have to rely on a government to be able to start that not-for-profit school, have all the money I want, so I could invest and help fund other people's purpose projects, right? So I could keep some of like the animal hospitals open, or the places so they don't have to keep euthanizing all these dogs, because I know those are somebody's purposes right there, so I could keep giving them the money and just try to eliminate that poverty mindset and make the whole world overall like happier and more connected and loving place.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, John, thank you so much for being here on the Ground Up Podcast, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks, both of you guys.
Appreciate it, buddy.
For those of you who are watching, please follow John on Instagram. Learn a lot from wholesaling and how he's building his business in general. Go and check out the Level Up Summit. Click the link and get your tickets for it. Follow us here on the Ground Up Podcast. We look forward to seeing you guys again with new content. Thank you so much.